In going to China, we had wanted to experience how the average citizen lives in that country. So in Shanghai, we wandered into the suburbs and went into one or two homes.
There was also no privacy when you live like this. That's what Chinese people...
In Beijing, we stayed in the Hutong, in amongst the alleyways. We used their commuter trains. Sometimes an unpleasant experience to get to Pingyao, an old, ancient walled city. There we stayed in an old courtyard house, sleeping on a kong bed, and exploring, going into backyards of homes, upsetting their dogs. When going to see the limestone dolomite karst mountain landscape, we decided to stay in a country hotel, located a few kilometers away and beyond the city called Yangshuo. So off into the countryside we travelled, with some familiar scenes on the way. We did want to experience how the locals live, but at this point I became a little anxious about what sort of area that country hotel was in, and then what we could expect in terms of quality of accommodation. In the end, we arrived at the hotel, located on the banks of the Yulong River. I paid the taxi driver. The next morning there was a thick mist around, but when it cleared, a rather pretty sight came into view. We were going to spend a few nights here, so we decided to explore the rural countryside by bicycle. There was a dragon bridge called the Jade Bridge some 26 kilometers away. So armed with some written directions as to how to get there, we set off. An interesting and picturesque countryside, really amongst the rural people here. Here, a street vendor selling honey from the hives that are next to the road and his tent where he stays. Here some kids were trying to knock off some fruit which looked like lukwats. Apart from the directions being in Chinese-style English, they were also hopelessly out of date, with landmarks no longer visible. Further and further away we cycled, getting into some real farming terrain. I have never heard of a person taking a cow and its calf for a walk, but here we have it. By now we had been cycling for 3 hours without recognizing any landmark given in the directions. I realized that we were actually lost, with locals looking at us as if we were baboons from outer space. These are clearly some burial sites. A fellow was working in a field next to the path, saw us and asked, "Jade Bridge?" We nodded and he pointed to this pathway. We took it. became a footpath between some fields and dwellings. But thankfully the directions were good, and we arrived at the bridge rather dehydrated and exhausted. There we saw all these bamboo rafts floating downstream, with one such operator offering to take us halfway back towards our hotel. We jumped at the opportunity and loaded the bicycles on the back of the raft. Here a fisherman is using tame cormorants to help him catch fish. The cormorant has a string tied around its neck which prevents it from swallowing the fish. The fisherman then removes the fish from the throat and stores it in a net next to his raft. After a while there were no longer any other people on the river. It was just so blissful floating downstream, getting closer to our hotel and getting our breath back. That polo nearly fell off his raft. There were all in all 8 of these buns that we went over, this last one being the highest. This is also the end of the rafting trip. We continued the journey back with our bicycles, calling in on a local market on the way. All sorts of foodstuffs was on offer, some things stranger than others. Here you can pick your frog. They are actually very tasty. Like we breed sheep for food, the Chinese breed dogs for food. They don't eat their pets. The last few kilometers back to the hotel were a little strained. We found the need to rest the whole day the next day.